Hello, welcome to another episode of Espresso with Aaron and Sarit. And on today's show, before we get into it, a question I want to ask you is what is one thing you think about all the time that you do not yet possess? You want it, but you don't have it yet. Maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's a certain amount of money. Maybe it's a certain type of relationship. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe it's for your kids to behave. Whatever it is, what's something that you think about all the time where you're like, if I could just have that thing, I would be blank. Whatever the emotion is that makes you feel excited about the thing. And I want you to put it in the comments or in the chat. What is that thing? What is that thing? You think, you know what it is. You think about it all the time before you go to bed, when you wake up, when you look in the mirror, when you recognize that you don't have it, when something irritates you. Mm-hmm. What is that thing? And what is the feeling that you will have when you get that thing? Some of you are passive listeners, and it's awesome, especially if you're driving. That's good, fine, passively listen. And some of you passively listen to everything and do nothing. So this is my invitation to you to actively listen and participate and do something with the information that you get today. It's going to be amazing. We have a guest today that Sarit will bring in, and but first, I just want you to get like grounded and thoughtful about what is the thing that I want, that I don't have, that I think about all the time. And then part B, what is the feeling that I will have when I get that thing?
Yeah, here's some responses coming. We see you guys. Peace, relief from anxiety. Okay, in the meantime, I want to introduce today's very special
But what's the thing? Oh, removal of anxiety from my life. I will feel relieved. I love it. Okay. Kindness, patience, peace is feelings. What's the thing though? What's the thing? Is it a car? Is it money? Is it a relationship? Is it is it a physical thing? Is it a promotion? Is it for your best friend to text you back? I don't know. Like what's the thing you think about all the time? Okay, go for it.
What's that thing for you?
Financial freedom.
Same. So good.
Like first thing that came to my mind is just for the money that comes into the bank account to be more than the money that goes out of the bank account every month, regardless of whether or not I am working. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you why too. It's good to attach yourself to the why, because with that, we were talking about this yesterday. Money doesn't make people happy, but the problems that money solves creates peace without as much effort. Peace without as much effort, because peace is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Joy is a choice. But the problems that money solves creates that with less effort. That's what I want. And that's what I want for every woman who's ever said at any point in time in her life, I can't afford it, to anything.
Sure.
It's the shittiest feeling. Okay. Anywho, little off topic, but not really.
Because it's a great preparation for today's conversation. Today, we have a very special guest. It's almost like a continuation for the guest we had on Friday. So we want to introduce you to Julie Serot. She's guided thousands of women in the path to feminine selling to help them become more successful entrepreneurs in their own way. If you are perking your ears because you're like, sales, I'm here for weight loss, then hold up, because how you play life is actually a game of enrollment. We're going to get to that in just a second. Sales and entrepreneurship are often shrouded in masculine energy, making it difficult for women to find their peace in the entrepreneurial space without compromising who they are and what they believe in. That's the position Julie found herself in as she was building her career, until she discovered that you really can have it all. Who wants to have it all? Drop an A in the chat.
You want to have your cake and eat it too?
After years of hands-on business experience and coaching with some of the industry's top mentors, Julie found the balance between generating revenue and being herself. Since then, Julie has coached more than 3,000 people and helped them increase their revenue by more than $5.5 million. She also shares in her success by donating to several nonprofit foundations to help uplift others and continue putting positive energy into the world. And today we're going to talk about communicating in a way that will help you to get what you want out of life. So for those of you guys who dropped an A, yes, I want to have it all, then pay very close attention. Julie!
Oh my gosh, I just love you guys.
We love you. What's up?
It's so good to see you both. I have YouTube pulled up here as well.
What is that?
So I can see the chat and everything. This is just so great. Good to see everybody.
Great. So Julie, turns out that like the hurricane came from your side to now our side. Like,
you're welcome.
We're like, oh, there's a hurricane coming to you guys tomorrow.
It's supposed to be tomorrow night.
Oh no, is it a bad one?
We don't know.
I heard category 3. Who knows?
Okay. Who knows?
It changes all the time. It's like, oh, now it's going this way. It's going that way.
Right. You don't know until it's on top of you, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
exciting.
Hurricane prayers to you. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
It's all good. You know, it's just the energy is so high when we come together that, you know, like crazy shit happens.
No, it's true.
Before we get to today's question, I want to ask you the same question that we asked ourselves and the audience. If you could have one thing in your life, what would that one thing be?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I attended, you know how Matthew McConaughey did that like challenge? Yeah. So I ended up getting the course. It's actually really good. And because, you know, always learning, #lifetime student. And I got the course and I was going through it. And the first module is, what do you want? And he goes, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Like deeper, 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 deeper.
Yeah.
And where I ended up landing was, I just want peace. Yeah. I want peace, you know, because there's been so many stories I could tell of not having peace. Yeah. And it's really helped me like completely deeply understand the value of peace. Now, obviously with peace, there's certain things you need. Like I heard you guys say financial freedom. And so for me, it's like all of that is sort of under the umbrella of that equals peace. You know, peace is like the ultimate for me. And then there's these mechanisms like that help me get there.
1000%.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. It's hard to be like, as much as we want to say like peace is a choice no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And you know this and we know this. And oftentimes people think that, in order for me to be happy, in order for me to have peace, in order for me to not be stressed, I have to have this thing.
Right.
And the thing is definitely a helpful resource to navigating your way to that feeling or emotion easier.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the things that's really been helping me is like I choose peace, and it's amazing what like comes.
Yes.
When you legitimately say, okay, like yes, there's a storm coming, and I can't control it.
Right.
But I can choose to freak out about it and be stressed out, or I can choose to just let it be because that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And it's interesting, like how we respond and we react. It's that be, do, have. If we're coming from a place of fear and reactivity and non-peace, the way we respond and react in the world is going to create something. And if whatever is happening in the circumstances in our life, and yet we choose peace anyway, and the way we respond like powerfully, and then we respond and react, or not react, but really that's more of just responding, right? Like proactive responding from that place of peace, we create something so distinct and different that we end up generating more peace. And then it's like this cycle that we've created, kind of like what you're saying exactly.
Love it.
I'm so glad you're here. Every time we talk.
So under the umbrella of peace, like for you, when peace is materialized, what does that look like for you?
Well, my like deepest desire is like fullest expression creativity. So sometimes that comes across as like thinking of you guys, like the fun, creative, like reels and posts. Like that's totally my version. I mean, mine aren't as funny as yours, but that's like my version of like creativity. You know, I also love dancing and painting, like creativity. So like that's a major aspect. And it's difficult for me to be in that creativity if I'm finding myself in something other than peace. Another is relating to people, relationship. So I want to be able to be present and cultivate relationships that are important to me. That comes out of peace. And also like cultivating my spiritual relationship, you know, like I've just always been like a really deeply spiritual person. And that's like the source of a lot of my peace. And it's like where I go when I have peace, and I enjoy cultivating that relationship. Yeah.
I'm just curious to know, what are the resources that make it easier for you to choose peace?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things?
Yeah, so good. Okay. And this is a really good segue into what we're talking about today as well. So I'll go into that last. Okay. Resources. Okay. I'm going to start with the funky one first, and then go into some like less funky ones. And then go into, no, this is going to sound so crazy, but as you both know, like I'm kind of like in a life transition right now that's been like kind of stressful and sad and whatever. Do you know what one of my go-to resources is?
My TikToks.
Obviously. I mean, that's a given. That was going to be my next one.
Okay.
I know.
No.
Phil's Coffee and Encinitas.
Close. I love that one though. The rose latte. I love the rose and the mint. No,
Okay,
close.
The waves on that cliff.
Getting colder. No, you were closer with coffee. Coffee enemas.
Whoa.
I know.
That is weird.
I know. I'm just coming right out the gate with my weird.
I want to try it and document it, like not visually.
I know visually. You got to photo documentation. No, here's why. Because coffee enemas, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So I'm a very like naturally like anxious, like that's like a go-to that like cultivated from when I was a kid. So it's very easy for me to go right to anxiety. Like doesn't matter. Even if my life is going great, I'll go right to anxiety. And so.
Yes, and I love coffee going down this way. Like, oh,
it's a whole experience, holistic, right? So it activates the parasympathetic. It gets the vagus nerve. You know, look at the chat. I love it. I like crazy. Thank you for embracing my crazy. Okay.
We're crazy in this community.
Yeah.
It gets the vagus nerve. And so it's like Saturday, I was like I was having like a good day, but just underlying, if I'm honest with myself, I'm feeling like anxious and sad and, you know, not peaceful. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my coffee enema. And so I set it up, and then within like 15. Mm-hmm.
Or do you have somebody?
No, it's at home. It's in the comfort of your own home.
Shoot a coffee bullet up your woohoo.
Mm-hmm. And within 15 minutes, I'm a different person, and I'm like zened out. I'm telling you. So that's.
I know. If anybody ever gives us a call and we don't answer for like 3 hours, you now know why.
Well, now you know. For me, if I am delayed in responding to you, exactly what I'm doing.
So good.
So that's the first one. I'm going to come right out the gate with my weird. That's totally a big tool in my toolbox. No, another is like prayer, reading the Bible, like meditation, like, you know, direct to source, like, okay, what's the word for me today? And it's always exactly what I need to hear. And I'm like, oh, hello. So that's a big one. Another is like,
what's
music.
your word today? What's your word today?
Oh yeah. No, this is good because I like haven't had my coffee this way yet. So
Please.
And I had a moment. I know it's like the espresso podcast, and I haven't had my coffee. It's like sacrilegious. No, what was it this morning? I actually was listening, and I was like, wait, that's my word, and I've already forgotten. So this is so good that you're bringing this back up for me. I think it's
grounding.
No, this is grounding. I was reading in Chronicles about the story of Josiah, and he was like super, he was like on point, like did everything that the Lord asked, like great king. And then all of a sudden got kind of like took back the power, like stopped listening to him, like try to do things his own way, stop being in that surrendered, like, okay, like I'm going to be obedient to right. And took back the power, went in disguise to this like battle that he, like the Lord guided him to not get involved with. But because of his own arrogance, he's like, no, I'm going to go, I'm going to crush, I'm on this winning streak. He goes, he's in disguise. He doesn't even look like himself as a king. He's like in disguise, and an arrow finds him and penetrates his suit and ends up killing him. And he was young. And like, that for me, that was such a lesson in like, sometimes I think I have such good ideas and I'm like this, like I can take care of this. I got this. When the truth is like, if I actually stopped, cause I'm a go. And if I actually stopped and got present and was like, oh, okay, God, what do you want today? Like might be different from what I want, And I've had that so many times where it's like, I think I need to do this, this, and this. And then he's like, no, do this, this, and this. And it ends up like the thing that I want comes through like a person or comes through an opportunity or comes through when I thought I needed to go do something else. So that was reading. Yeah, I would say that would be the word for today.
Wait, so what's the word?
Obedient?
Oh, well, I meant the word as in like the word of the Bible, but if it had to just be distilled down to one word, probably, maybe like obedience or surrender or trust. One of those three words.
Yeah,
wow.
For sure.
Julie, so we're going to talk about personality types in just a second. And my prediction is that you and I have the same personality type.
I'm pretty similar to both of you, actually. I think that's why we all get along is I'm like, there's a reflection in both of you.
Well,
and to that point,
she's one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, you were asking about what brings me peace. Another thing that brings me peace is like having compassion for myself and who I am and how I am, as well as having compassion for and understanding deeply how other people are, right? Because every day we're dealing with family, we're dealing with our team members, we're dealing with partnerships, like we're dealing with like the people, and they don't always do the things we want them to do in the way that we want them to do it, or even ourselves, like we disappoint ourselves. So how do we relate with those challenging moments? And so for me, when I learned and started to really deeply understand and master the 4 personality styles, that was such a source of power and peace for me, because I stopped being so in my will, in my, I have to run the show, in my controlling, in my attachment, in my stressfulness, and started to be more in such like compassion and love and connection. It was a game changer. So let's go
into the intimacy.
Okay. So yeah, exactly that. Let's go. So I want to know from you, like, how did you get into sales in the first place?
It's like so weird that I'm even like in sales. Like if you had asked me like 20 years ago self, oh, you're going to be like a sales expert and like, one of the best in sales in the world in this area, I'd be like, no, you're lying. Like there's no way, because I've always just been this like introverted, creative, like animal loving, like homebody, like no, there's no way. But what ended up happening was I discovered as I was pursuing my career, which at the time I was a marine mammal biologist. I got my grad degree in marine mammal biology. And as I was kind of like on my path and figuring things out, I started to learn and realize that as I was passionate about something before that, like when I was in college, I sold tea. I was super passionate about loose leaf tea. Like if you actually look back and connect the dots on every phase of everything I've done, sales was always the common denominator. And the reason is because even if I wasn't selling, like even if I was like applying to grad school, or even if I was like talking to a team member in the corporate job I had in New York, like right out of college, like if you look at any of those communications, at every point of the way I was selling. And I just wasn't being honest with myself about that. I wasn't admitting it to myself because, Serot, as you always say, life is an enrollment game. And so I didn't realize it, but at the time I was completely selling myself, selling my ideas, selling, in the case of tea, like a product. I was just thinking of it as I'm just, like making a difference for myself and for other people. And yes, exactly. And that's exactly what sales is. And so once I started to embrace, honestly, what I had been doing the whole time, everything changed.
Wow.
And then
sales is making a difference for myself and other people.
Write that down.
That
people.
is amazing.
Write that down.
Because if people think about sales like, oh, you're trying to get something. Somebody's trying to get something. And yes, those people do exist. Who are trying to just get something.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's where the misconception, often comes in, is everybody's had an experience with somebody where it felt like, I'm not a real person. You're not treating me like a real person. You just want to get something from me. And so it's understandable. If you think about it as sales is, and these people do exist too, I consider myself to be one of these people, is I'm making a difference for myself and other people, because when I sell something, it solves a problem. And somebody's willing to make the exchange financially to have that problem solved. And so it makes sense for everybody. And that's beautiful. So good.
Yeah. The difference when somebody feels sold to and that has that icky feeling versus the sales is service, which is what we're talking about, is when somebody is trying to get you to buy something that's completely not relevant for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. When something is relevant for you and when something solves a problem that's keeping you up at night, you're grateful. You're like, oh my God, thank you. Even if it's like an ad, like, thank you, Instagram, for serving up this ad for this thing that you obviously clearly knew that I needed because you're listening to me. And that's why those ads are, because they're relevant.
Yeah.
That's why you don't care. I'm like, thanks. I'll take that shower head that cleans my water. That's great. That's exactly what I've been thinking that I need. Whereas like if you're getting a DM from someone who's like, hey, buy my thing, you're like, this is completely an intrusion of my space because this is nowhere in the realm of anything that I needed or wanted. And that's where it feels icky.
I get at least one of those every day.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, we can help you grow your Instagram followers.
Yeah, I get those texts too. Take
Yeah.
this 1 teaspoon and
Yeah,
this 28 pounds. I love it. I'm like,
I think, what do you think the difference is? Like, what is the difference on the receiver's end?
It's the difference is the reaction of like, thank you. You are an answered prayer, which I get all the time, which my clients get all the time, which is that's the sales is service vibe compared with, that perpetuation of sales is icky. This feels like an intrusion. I feel violated. This is offensive.
And what's the difference on the generator's end? Or the salesperson's?
Well, so the way I teach sales is specifically for women because I've tried to sell those like old school guru masculine ways. And it's not that they don't work. They do. It's just that there's a consequence to it, especially for women, which is what I experienced and what a lot of the people who end up coming to me experienced was burnout and exhaustion. And it's not sustainable and it's not inspiring. And it's like a have to, not a get to. And it's like, I don't want to wake up and do this. It's like, I'll do it because I know it's like my livelihood, but it's not my preference. Yeah. So that's what it feels like when you sell what I call the masculine way. When you sell the feminine way, which is all about that relating effectively and relevance and the communication that really is like such a win-win. It's not necessarily that I'm making new friends through my sales. I don't want anyone to like misperceive that, but it is a feeling of this is like a beautiful, nourishing, connective, uplifting service base, not just for the person who's, buying, but also for me. And it's like fun for me to get to know somebody and like find out who they are, what they want, what's important to them, what's in the way of the thing that they want, and to say, hey, you know what, here's another possibility. And it's like, I am the vehicle to get them from where they are now to where they want to go if they choose, if it's relevant, if they choose, and they're excited. And that's fun. Like for me, that's energizing and that's fun. And I think for entrepreneurs, especially like we're such, and every human, but like especially entrepreneurs, we're such creatures of momentum. And so anyone who's on here who's an entrepreneur, it's like you are either, and I think that's probably true
Drop
for
an E if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, put an E if you're an entrepreneur.
I think that's true of humans in general. Like I know for me, if I'm in the momentum of working out and the momentum of eating right, like it's easy to keep it going. But if you're in like a rut and you're stuck, it's like it takes something to get back going again. That's how humans are. So when people learn the way to sell that feels good, that they want to do, that's like connective and energizing, it increases momentum. And guess what? You're going to want to do it more and more and more. And what happens if you're in more sales activity? You will probably make more money. And it's just this beautiful cycle of, to your point, like I want to help other women experience financial freedom. And this is how I help them do it.
So good.
It seems like a focus in versus a focus out. Like
yeah, well
like
said.
Focus in is like, what's in it for me? A focus out is, how can this serve you? And if I'm standing for
That's
you
right.
and your dream and your goal and the solution, and
That's
if the
it.
solution is a good fit for you, then I'm going to stand for you.
Completely. And something I want to say to that point, Erin, is in my sales courses, I say this right up front. I'm like, okay, so I know you're here to like learn sales and make more money, but let me just tell you my secret agenda, because I have a secret agenda. My secret agenda is that as you're learning these 4 personality styles, which is what I teach in my courses, which we're going to talk about today, as you're learning these styles, yes, you'll learn to have that experience of being able to serve better, be relevant, focus out, all of that. But what's actually going to happen is you're going to become a more compassionate communicator for everybody in your life, including yourself. And you're going to heal your relationships. You're going to experience a new level of intimacy with yourself. And it's life-changing from the end. Like you are going to be a generational catalyst in your life. And so for me, it's so far beyond sales, but it's definitely a sell them what they want, give them what they need. People don't even realize what's possible when they learn to sell better. It's the deepest healing. And that's like what I live for.
Yeah, we are a mirror of possibilities or of obstructions, and we are sorcerers and creators. And, like we're going to talk about that more in just a little bit. So I'm curious to know, just before we get into the tactics, is what got you to going all in on sales in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
The anti-sales salesperson.
I know. So my entrepreneurial journey actually started with me teaching yoga. That was something that I started practicing yoga when I was 20. Exactly. And it was always something that brought me back to truth and to God and to that peaceful center. And so I was like, I want to give this to more people. Like, this is so powerful. So I got certified. I started teaching it. Something, I think it's probably the influence of my teachers that I had, but also my natural inclination to bring more meaning to, like, you go to some yoga classes and it really is just like, inhale halfway, exhale full. It's literally just the movement and the breath, which is fine. But then you go to some yoga classes and you like encounter this deep truth about the meaning of life. And it's like, you come out and you're like, I am a new person.
Yes. I think it's in every profession.
If there's anybody who's done yoga in here, have you ever had that experience where you come out of yoga and you're like, this world looks completely different?
Yes.
When we were personal trainers, like there was something that was very different about Erin and I and everybody else on the floor. Like there were 30 trainers on the floor, and I'll tell you what it is. It's the intention of creating an experience, not just a workout. So I believe that you find that in every single profession. Some people get it, that it's all about the experience. It's And yes, there's tactics. Yes, there's mechanisms. Sure. And the biggest separator comes in the experience. So I know for a fact what you're talking about. We've gone to yoga classes all over the world, and there were 2 yoga instructors who completely shifted my mindset about yoga, because I used to be an anti-yoga person.
I did too.
Yeah. And I love yoga.
Yeah. Yeah. And so people wanted more. And so without really even knowing what I was doing, it's one of those exactly intention, the power of intention. And this is why a lot of people come to me and they're like, give me the step 1, step 2, step 3. And that's fine. I'll give them the steps. But at the end of the day, when you're coming from that place of focused out service intention, you actually kind of intuitively know exactly what to do. Then you just need to do it. And so I just felt this intuitive hit of bring a notebook to class, get their names, emails, and phone numbers, start to send them messages and emails and invite them into, other workshops. I just sort of naturally knew to do that. And next thing you know, I developed this one-on-one yoga coaching virtual thing. It sold out. I made $90,000 in my first 6 months in doing this. I never made that in any of my other jobs. And I did it in 6 months as a yoga teacher, not working full time by any stretch. And I think that kind of flow is when you're really on in the groove and onto something. And that was when I started to realize I think I might be doing sales. I think I might be an entrepreneur. Exactly. But it really came from this place of I had an income goal of $5,000 a month. I was like, gosh, if I could just make $5,000 a month, that would be life-changing. I blew past it. I didn't even realize I blew past it until I was at $10,000 a month. And I needed to get a proper accountant and proper bookkeeping and all of that, just because I was so in the flow of the present moment and the service. It's that's, that's the energy of it. And so I was in that energy. And then I was like, ooh, I could really grow this thing. I could really make a bigger difference. I could really impact more people. Hired a coach. That's when I started to learn, there's these other ways to sell, and actually started to learn more of the masculine ways to sell. Went into this major burnout mode, got strep throat. It was really awful. And I was like, this is not sustainable. Oh
no. A hurricane warning. Stop!
Oh my God, do you guys need to end this and go into your fallout shelter?
Oh my God. It's sunny outside.
Oh my God.
Okay, continue on.
Okay, let me know if we need to end it at any point.
Wow, you're so powerful. Look at what you're creating, Julie.
I was talking about burnout and awfulness, and then you got the hurricane warning. Oh my gosh. So I was sometimes you learn what is that phrase? Invention is the child of necessity, or whatever it is. It's I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, and I wasn't willing to stop. And so I had to figure out a new way. And that was where it was okay, there must be a different way to do this. I have to figure out another way to do this. And, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and I started to kind of just get these pieces and learn, yes, there are other ways. And I got trained with the most amazing mentors and in leadership seminars, and really just dove in.
Oh my gosh.
That's not the kind of thing you can mute either.
We got it. It's clear. 100% understand.
All the puppies.
So you were learning.
Yeah. So, and then I was just all right, this is a new way. This is a better way. I've mastered it. I've taught it to my clients. Time to go teach it to the world. And so last year I released a whole new business, a whole new course focused on selling, but it really was selling a different way, selling the feminine way, selling a way that is authentic, that doesn't require you to be someone you're not, that doesn't require you to, Yeah, like be any way other than yourself, and to be in a level of service that allows you to really focus on your zone of genius, because you aren't really, your close rate goes up when you show up that way. You're not on as many sales calls. You're not doing as much sales and marketing effort, because if you're talking to 10 people, and before you were closing 2 of them, but now you're closing 7 of them, which is a pretty common transformation among what my people see with this method, you don't have to spend as much time doing sales and marketing because you're more efficient. So it's a game changer. So that's kind of like the essence of my transformation with it.
So, okay. For any of you that put in you own a business, you're an entrepreneur, actually anybody, period. If you're alive and you have a pulse, then this applies to you, or doesn't apply to you. Yes, enrollment, sales, no matter what, you want to get your kids to do their homework, that's sales. You want to get your spouse to go see the movie that you want to see, that's sales. So it's not always with a financial exchange of some kind. It is a way of life. Enrollment is a way of life. I feel like at this point in the conversation, I'm like, if I want to know more, where do I go? Like, where can somebody go if they want to learn? And then we get into the personality styles.
Okay,
but
yeah.
Wait, no, we're going to get to one more thing before we get to the person.
Okay, one more thing. But this just feels like a really good place to be like, hey, like if I'm interested in knowing more, what do I do? Where do I go to learn what you do?
Yeah. If you go to julieserot.com/mindset, there's a whole free training on what I call your inner dialogue and how to deal with it. So even just like circling back to what we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation about what's important to me. Well, what's important to me is peace. Oftentimes what robs us of peace is our crazy inner dialogue, but there's tools to deal with it. There's coffee enemas, and there's...
Did I do it right?
And the what?
Did I do it right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. There's coffee enemas, and then there's other tools. And these are some of the other tools. And so I have a whole training on it. And so there's that. There's my like socials. There's my Instagram and my TikTok and everything, where there's actually some really valuable, like just bits of training. Getting my patients to participate in self-care, selling it. Wow. Yeah, exactly. And actually, it says Facebook user, so I don't know who that is, but what you just said right there, getting my patients to participate in self-care and selling it, what we're going to talk about with the 4 personality styles is so going to hit home for you, because it'll just, you're going to have such aha moments with it. So yeah, so julieserot.com/mindset, Julie Serot on my Instagram or TikTok. And yeah, my website has more information, but I would say the mindset training would probably be the best one. So yeah, thanks for asking, Erin.
Yeah.
So good. So let's talk about this term called life is a game of enrollment, because most people, especially women, I was one of those women, have a really bad taste in their mouth when they think about anything sales or enrollment related. So,
or get like nervous if they're the ones doing the enrolling, because there's a stigma. And I know that for myself, and I would love for you all to not leave me hanging like I'm the only one. So let me know in the chat if you've ever felt a fear of judgment.
Yes, of course.
Put a J.
Put a J.
If you've ever felt the fear of judgment, if I'm going to sell something or, whatever it is, like I'm here to persuade somebody to do something for their own good. If you have felt like you're going to be judged on what's your agenda, because that people will have judgments, period. I don't think there's a way to stop it because of people's experiences. I'm glad I'm not alone. Thank you. Wow. Everybody did that's common thread. Okay. Got it.
I think, Napoleon Hill talks about the 7 fears, and I believe that is probably the fear that the women experience the most, I would say. Just from talking to a lot of women, that's why I feel like a lot of women want to lose weight, because it's like more of a fitting in rather than something that is a deep desire. And the people who go the furthest in life, whether it's with weight loss, fitness, or whatever, it's because they have a deep desire. It's not something external.
I want to say something really quickly just about judgment. because, the more people who have gotten to know who me and Serot are, and Julie, I'm sure it's the same with you, the more eyes that are on you, the more opportunity there is for judgment. And it can go both ways, right? It can be what we see as a positive judgment or a negative judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if we know that we can't stop that, it's like a hurricane. It's coming, it's coming. You can't do anything about it. It's how do I collect myself? How do I manage me? And let me tell you, you stop caring so much about the judgment of other people as your confidence level genuinely rises.
Mm-hmm.
As you become more secure in who you are, why you are the way that you are, when you lay your head on your pillow at night and you're like, I am a good person, I have great integrity, I'm honest, I love people, I serve myself and others. Like, if I do me well as best as I can, also knowing like I make mistakes, I'm a human being. Yes, I'm not always politically correct. No, I'm not. I don't always say the right thing. My heart is always in the right place. Then the fear of that judgment can escape you. It can go away because at the end of the day, like, I do my best. So if somebody has some out of context, visual or video or audio or misinterpretation of my communication, I can't stop that. So I get to be at peace with it, and I get to be okay with it because I know my heart is in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to share that because I think that can be very settling for for all of us when we do, because no matter what, we all fear judgment at some point. So it doesn't really go away. But when you find yourself in that moment, you can remind yourself, I'm a good human being. So I really have
good.
tried to fear.
That's good. Yeah. I always ask my clients, or I really invite them to get very connected to what prices they're willing to pay for their vision and for their dream. Because not that you're going to have to pay those prices, but sometimes you do. For me, some of the prices I'm willing to pay, like being judged is one of them for sure. A really big one for me is being misunderstood. I really hate being misunderstood. Like, it's so deeply painful, and I'm willing to. Being inconvenienced, being tired, being, those are probably like the biggest ones for me. But, and it's, when somebody hears you say, what prices are you willing to pay? People often think of like money first. And it's really not that, although maybe there is that. It's really more of like this, the stuff that really stops you, the stuff that really stops you, which is all of this.
Getting it wrong, being messy, not knowing what I'm doing.
Failing.
Those are
looking
all
bad. Ooh, looking bad.
Looking bad is, absolutely. Yeah. And let me just add one more piece to this. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I think it's so valuable if you hold yourself back from serving somebody else that you can serve because of a fear of what somebody else will think, you're actually disservicing everyone. Because if I have a solution, okay, so imagine whatever ad you all saw when you were introduced to me and Serot. Imagine if we never put those ads out there because somebody was going to make a nasty comment. You would not be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
So your prices that you're willing to pay significantly benefit somebody else. And is that worth the price that you could potentially pay? About full circle.
It's actually, I would go as far as to say if you have a vision and if you feel called, it is selfish to be unwilling to pay those prices for the sake of the difference that you feel called to make. Because now you are making it about you.
Yeah.
And that's not service.
Going back to your Bible intention for today. That's the price that Josiah had to pay because he was not obedient. He led the people. So good. So good. Okay. So, what is very much misunderstood is, I want you to talk about life as an enrollment game, because that is the perfect segue for the personality types, is that it's actually all a way of being. and it is connected to a higher source.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, it's never about us. So, whatever your perception of sales or enrollment up until now is, my recommendation for you is just set it aside, let it go nine,
Be open.
and let it go. Yes, and be open. Just like a coffee enema. And
She's open.
and like, how would you explain that definition to someone who's like, well, what do you mean by that? Life is an enrollment game.
Mm-hmm. You are always, let's define enrollment. Enrollment is when somebody has a desire for something, a vision for something, and they now choose yes to that desire or vision, and they take a distinct action towards that desire or vision.
What's a distinct action?
Yeah, so it would be like, okay, so let's say I have a kid and I'm enrolling them into cleaning the house. There's this vision of a clean house. The distinct action would be going and getting the broom to sweep the floor.
Okay, yeah.
That
It's like
person
the
is
next
now
step.
enrolled in cleaning the house.
Literally take the next step.
The action that is the segue towards the vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perfect. Okay. So talk to us about the different personality styles and what does that have to do with one's influence in getting what they want out of life, AKA being enrolling. Yes. If you're allergic to enrollment, adapt your vision with the reality that in order for you to get what you want out of life, you've got to be enrolling. Whether it's getting your spouse to be on board with a healthier lifestyle, whether it's, like enrolling your kid and having a clean room or
getting somebody into a program or selling a product.
Completely.
Let's not ignore that money part too. Like that is very much a part of our economy and how money is supposed to move around.
Completely.
It's supposed to go from my hands to your hands, from your hands to the barista's hands, from the barista. Like it's supposed to move.
Yeah.
Money is what was it?
energy. Energy.
A manifestation of energy. MONEY. Manifestation of energy.
Wait a minute. That is a mic drop moment.
Hold on, I can't take credit for that. That's a Grant Cardone. I heard that from Grant.
Okay, well, I have never heard that before. That was so good.
Somebody hadn't heard that before.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And that's how I think about it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So the reason why the 4 personality styles makes such a difference when it comes to enrollment is because different people are motivated by different priorities and values. Yeah. So if you try to enroll one personality style into something the same way that you enroll another personality style, one personality style might be totally into it. The other might be completely repelled by how you just did that. Yeah. So this is why your close ratio goes up so much. You go from being able to, like when it comes to sales, like being able to just relate with people just like you and closing that 25% easily, compared with being able to effectively influence the rest of the population. That's not like you, to be able to now influence them with authority to invite them into taking distinct action towards their vision and dream. So, okay, shall we talk about the 4 personality styles now?
I love this so much. I love it.
So fun. This is my favorite. Like I get so lit up with this topic. So I was so excited you invited me to talk about it. There's 4 personality styles. Here's what I call them. There's a lot of different, right? Like there's all kinds of different personality tests and things you can take. And here's how I label them. Okay. There's the boss. There's the humanitarian. There's the star. And there's the sage. Now I'm going to go through each of them. Okay. So the boss is the person who they're motivated and driven by and focused on results. They are results oriented. They are the people that you go to who get stuff done. What are you guys writing down?
I wrote it down. She's like, what's that? We're taking notes, teacher.
I'll go through all of them.
I'm trying to help them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So boss, humanitarian, star, sage.
So
Yes.
boss is results oriented.
Results.
Get it done.
Get it done. Very efficient. They're focused on get it done as quickly as possible. They're urgent. Like really, truly, if you want something done, you give it to the boss, right?
They got bullet points. They don't got time for bullshit.
Bullet points, bottom line. Exactly. As few details as possible, just the relevant ones. Right. No stories, no elaboration. Really? A 3-minute voice message? You've got to be kidding me. No, thank you. Okay. 3 minutes is my limit. No, thank you. Okay. So I should say this, every style has their strengths and then there's the things, opportunities for growth, let's call it. Yeah. So the opportunities for growth for the boss is that they're so results oriented that they'll sometimes overlook the feelings and needs of other people for the sake of the results. And oftentimes for the boss personality, there's this like trail of dead bodies behind them of people that they've stepped on and bulldozed and they have no idea because the people that they stepped on are too freaking intimidated by them and scared of them to say honestly how they're feeling. And so they just disappear or get resentful or it's just all very unhealthy. And the boss has no idea, or maybe they do and they actually just don't care. That's also.
Okay, before you go forward. So I want to say this, as you're listening to all of these personality styles or types, and you find yourself fitting into one of them, know that the downside of every personality, if and when, I don't know if it's ever mastered completely, but if there's a lot of awareness and focus on improving the downside of that personality type, you literally become unstoppable because the boss who leaves a bunch of dead bodies behind because they stepped on them, if they become aware of that, they say, oh, wow. And I'm sure you'll talk about like flexing or stretching into different and communicating with different styles. You learn how other people communicate. And then that the downside of your personality is no longer really that down. You're very aware of it. And so it's like I point to Serot. She's totally the boss personality. And she's really become aware of herself. And that makes her unstoppable because she can then say like, I'm going to make sure I'm aware that I'm not doing that to people. I'm not stepping on them. I'm not leaving dead bodies behind me. I'm not. And so every personality, it's good to be aware of the downsides because that's where your area of opportunity is.
Completely. And one of the things I say in my course in Feminine Selling Academy is that let's say we're picturing the 4 personality styles as like they're here, 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 and here. Those are the 4 personality styles. When you come to the center and you're able to easily, equally access all of them, you become what I call the luminary.
Ooh.
You become the luminary. That is a whole other way of being. And that's the superhero, unstoppable, limitless person that you just described, Erin.
Yes.
The luminary.
Okay.
Goals.
Completely. So exactly. And so, this is a fun game. If we were to, and type in the chat if you can guess, if the boss were to buy a car, were to be driving a car, what car would they drive? What is the like visual depiction of the boss that the car that the boss drives? What would that be?
I'm waiting for other people. Hold on.
A Bentley, a BMW. Okay, let's get more descriptive. What color?
I'll tell you. A matte black wagon with red and black interiors, tinted.
Done and done. Completely. No, completely.
Beefed up with bigger wheels.
Oh, AMG. Oh yeah. The special seats. Yeah. Black, all black. Yeah. Oh, you guys got black as. Okay. Yeah. Nailed it. Everybody nailed it. Okay. Exactly. Okay, good. So that's the boss. Okay. Let's do the sage next. So the sage is also a results-driven person. They care about data and numbers and details. That's it. That is exactly it. The sage also is the one personality style who you can just really count on. Like so much integrity, in fact, that they will stop themselves. And this is where we get into some of the opportunities for growth. The sage will stop themselves before they even begin because they need to know the how. They need to see the guarantee. They need all of the details. And like as an entrepreneur, you never have all the details. You never know the how. And if you think you know the how, you get to that step and it's not going to be that anymore. And you have to adapt and be flexible. So it can be difficult for a sage to be an entrepreneur, not impossible. You just have to know yourself and this is where this becomes so powerful, is because you have new opportunities unlocked for you when you know, okay, yes, I know I love details. I feel safe. I make decisions better when I have it all laid out. And knowing I'm not going to have all of that, I still get to move forward anyway. That's where the luminary starts to come in. That's where you start to become the luminary as a sage. Exactly. That's exactly how the sage operates. They enroll at the last minute because they have to think it all through. They have to think it through.
Yeah, get it.
So so sages are the detail people. They're the one you go to if you like really need to understand all aspects. Like my clients who are sages, they'll ask me questions and I'm like, my brain never would have actually conceived that question. Like, how did you even think of that? Like they just understand all aspects of everything. Like it's fascinating to me.
They look at all of the reviews of the products before they buy it. They make sure they know what the refund policy is.
All the fine print.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fine-tooth comb. Every word.
Fine-tooth comb. Exactly. Again, the shadow side would be that they are an analysis paralysis. They've been in that, like there's one woman who has been wanting to enroll in one of my things. She has been stuck in her same like place. Like she has been wanting to find and follow her vision for like 6 years and she has not taken action. Like very typical sage. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. I think everyone's clear. So what is
that's why every sage needs a boss and why every boss needs a sage.
and when they do make decisions, it's often not wrong, right? Like when they do decide and they do take action, like they often do it well because they know all of the information.
Unless, like, I'm thinking of this one prospect, she is so in her analytical about it that she only invests in like super small level courses, and she actually needs a higher level of accountability. So she's in this inner dialogue of like, I've invested in all these small courses and haven't taken action because she's scared to invest in a higher level something that actually would allow her to like have the support that she needs to. So now she's got all this evidence of why I can't, that she's now focused on as that sage of like, what's the evidence? So it's actually kind of difficult for her now. So she really gets to take a leap of faith. So these are things to look at as well. So what's the car that the sage drives?
I'll tell you. A black?
No.
Black, of course. It's either black or white.
Gray Prius.
Probably, yes, a Prius or a Tesla.
A broom.
No.
A broom. That's hilarious.
It's either black or it's either white.
A broom. That would be the star.
It's going to be probably economically friendly or
cost effective.
Yes. Or good on mileage.
Silver Tesla, Subaru Gray or Sage, black Impala.
Yeah, I would say a silver Prius or like, like a
Subaru.
Or like a white Honda or something like very, super functional, very like fuel efficient.
And
like,
it's clean as shit.
Clean as shit, totally reliable, like serviced on time every time.
Yep. No lights, no lights on the dashboard.
Yeah. Tires perfectly filled. Exactly.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so this
is LDUB. This is our operations.
White Honda CRV. Mm-hmm. You want a sage in operations 1,000% for sure. Yeah.
Yes, every boss needs a sage.
Yeah. And remember, so a lot of people are two personality styles. So, right, sometimes you could get like a boss and a sage together. Now, that person is interesting because that's like the CFO. right? Like they're very results driven. They are focused on results, and they think of all the details. That's a powerful person. Now, that person is very results focused. How are they in relationship? Opportunity for improvement. Right. Yeah. But so this is where the growth comes in.
Married to number one.
Exactly. Yeah. We keep it for 300,000 miles.
That person, I hope you guys have more time because we still have 2 more personalities.
I have more time. Do you guys have more time?
Yep. Let's go. Or do you?
Okay. Julie, what's your favorite coffee?
Are we taking an intermission break? What's
your favorite coffee?
My favorite
side note.
The kind that goes up.
That's the promoter. The star in me just got distracted.
I see. I was like, are we demonstrating the star right now? Is that what's happening? No, my coffee is, I'll tell you, this is the kind of, I'm a star. So this is the kind of coffee a star makes in the morning. She makes her espresso. She does the warm foam. I have my Nespresso Aero foam machine. I make my foam, my milk foam. I blend in my rose water extract. I have rose water extract. I put the foam on top, and then I have rose petals that I put on top of my latte. And that is how a star makes coffee.
I put a dash of nutmeg, a dash of cinnamon.
That's great. It's an experience.
Do you like put any stevia in it, or like what's your?
Oh, yes, I use allulose.
Oh, allulose. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's the next personality type? We're going so star right now.
Let's do the star because that's a perfect segue. The star is all about the experience, the people, the relationships. Is it going to be fun? It's the person who is like, so they're invited to the party and they're like, okay, who's going to be there? Like they care about the relationships. They care about the people. They care about the experience. Okay. So the priority for the star is
it's the person with the tie-dye shirt.
Totally. It's the person with the tie-dye shirt. They are not as caught up in details. They actually really don't care about details very much. They care about, is it going to be fun? Is it going to be a great experience? So, like if you are a sage trying to enroll a star into something and you start talking details, you will lose them so fast. You will lose them so fast. And conversely, if you're a star trying to enroll a sage into something and you don't talk about details, you will lose the sage. So can you all start to see how this works? The pros to the star is that the star is like so charismatic. Like they're the life of the party. They're the person who you just love like being around. They're naturally enrolling. They're natural leaders. They're enrolling and they don't even mean to be. They're like, come see this movie. It's the best. Everything is the best. It's the best movie. It's the best restaurant. It's the best non-dairy.
This is going to be the best interview ever.
It's the best interview ever.
You gotta come. Share with your friends.
Just trust me. Just trust me. When is it? I don't know. Just come. Just trust me. So that's the star. So the downside, the room for improvement for the star is obviously details. It's it's integrity. Like, when I was starting to realize all of these things for myself, I'm like a star through and through. And like now instead of having a trail of dead bodies behind me, I had a trail of broken promises. Yeah. And I had to go. And when I chose in for my path to the luminary and path to develop and grow, I had to go back and call a bunch of people and apologize and clean up and ask like, what do you need to say to me? You know, how did I hurt you? What did I like? That was part of my growth, especially being like my primary is the star. My secondary is the boss. So imagine that I have a trail of dead bodies and broken promises.
I was going to say, I'm a star with a side of boss.
Yeah.
And so you and I are very much the same.
Mm-hmm. Many entrepreneurs are. It's an entrepreneurial profile for sure.
Yeah. Sarit is a boss with a side of star.
Okay. Yeah. Also very common. Very good. Yeah. And that's a great compliment because again, now you can think about things differently and you cover all your bases. Yeah. You know, kind of like my ops person is also, she's a sage humanitarian. I'll get to humanitarian next. And so it's actually, she thinks of things that I'm like, I never would have thought of that, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, I skimmed your email. Can you explain it?
Real talk. I have no idea. Can you just, bullet points. Thanks. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so good. It's great.
Yeah. So what does the star drive? I think we're clear on the star. What does the star drive? Put it in the
I'll
chat.
tell you. It is the pearl tinted Tesla. Have you ever seen those?
No.
Like,
It's like a Corvette or like it's a Corvette. It's some kind of hot rod. It's some kind of red. It's got to be red. They got to be like
what?
fiery.
Do you know? There's somebody in my neighborhood that has got pink. You cannot not see it. You cannot not see it.
Maybe
Red
it's like
Mustang.
Convertible.
Pink
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini on point, Janice. Like, come on.
Highlighter yellow, like Mustang, top down, lights flashing, oil needs to be replaced.
French fries in the back seat.
French fries. Oh, well, that's more of the humanitarian, but maybe that. Yeah.
Okay, but like,
because the star car doesn't have a back seat because they weren't thinking about the kids. They were thinking about the experience. Like, oh, it doesn't have a back seat. I'll just get another car.
They turned it into a disco party in the back.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, good. Everyone gets it. Okay. So Charger for sure. Okay.
The yellow dune buggy. Yes.
Viper. This is so fun. Okay, so that's the star. So finally we have the humanitarian. So just like it sounds like, the humanitarian is the person who pretty much cares about everybody but themselves. So they care so much about their other family members, about the environment, about the whales, okay, but what about them? And that's the person who, like, they totally have a workout plan this morning. I was thinking about this as I was getting ready. It's like, here's how this is so relevant for so many of you, because I bet this is a lot of you. You had your workout planned, you had your meal prep planned, but your kid needs to, like, you need to pick your kid up from school because they got sand in their eye. So you have to leave everything and go pick them up. And now it's 3 hours later and oh my God, you have to feed them and you have to feed yourself, but let's feed them first. And now it's 2 hours later. They need new shoes. Okay, let's go get them new shoes. 6 hours later and it's time to make dinner. Now it's time to give everyone a bath and go to bed. Oh, and you never got your workout in.
Or 8.
Yeah. And so this is the humanitarian. So the humanitarian is so beautifully thoughtful, relationship focused, like they're the person who is, like, I call them like the glue that holds relationships together. So they are like, so you can turn to them for anything, call them up. They will listen to you all day long, like just hold the bucket, like whatever you need. But the opportunity for growth is, like, they get to put themselves first. When was the last time you invested in yourself? When was the last time you prioritized yourself? When was the last time you did something for you?
Or
right?
Acknowledged you or something that you did well.
Totally. So where did the time go? You were focused on other people. That's where the time went. So what is the car for the exact? Look at Charlotte. Haven't had breakfast yet, but fed my fish, my indoor cat, my homeless outdoor cat, obviously. The bird.
Yes, that's so perfect.
And she hasn't fed herself. So what is the car for the humanitarian?
Minivan.
I would say a Toyota Corolla.
Minivan.
Or like a Mazda 3.
She has a 15-passenger van because she can fit everybody in it. All the kids, the soccer balls,
and that's where the French fries are stuck in the seat. And it's okay. The more, the better.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So that's the humanitarian. Okay, so I think, so for me, I'll just share my own story. The reason why this is so life-changing is because being a primarily boss star, my sister is more of like a sage. And I didn't even realize that the way that I was communicating with her, it was like I was speaking German and she was speaking Chinese. And I thought I was doing a good job being a sister. And I found out one day that her experience was that she didn't have a sister.
Wow.
And so one day I realized this, I had this aha moment and I said to her, I feel like there's probably some things you want to say to me. Maybe I haven't been doing a good job as a sister. Is there anything you want to say? 20 minutes later, she's now vomited out all the ways that I suck as a sister. And all I did this time versus the other times where I got defensive, this time I was like, what else? What else? What else? What else?
Yeah.
What else? What else? Until she was done. And I was like, what do you need from me? How do you need me to be? And for you to feel loved and, supported. And she was like, just be my sister. So I got to figure that out. And what I realized was what she was trying to say was, I completely was not accessing my humanitarian. I completely was not accessing my sage aspect of myself. Those were not defaults for me. Those were not comfortable for me because I was mostly in these other kind of quadrants. And so when I wasn't sure what to do, I would just ask myself, what would a humanitarian do right now with her? Maybe I would just call her and just let her talk and complain about her day because that's where she's at. That's what she wants to do. Okay, like maybe I'll just listen because that's what the humanitarian does. They listen. Now, is that fun for me? Is that my preference? Is that, my go-to way of being? Absolutely not. But that's what she needs for that relationship to be happy and good.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started just doing that, being my humanitarian self and listening, everything changed. Everything changed. Everything changed. So we all have people like that in our life. Maybe you're a humanitarian and you want to enroll someone like a boss into one of your like programs or something like that. And you're like, I would love to have a boss because they're results oriented and I'd love to help somebody get results. Well, how do you get to be? You get to be confident. You get to speak with authority. You get to be assertive. You get to get right to the bullet points, right to the bottom line, and be in such a way that that boss can hear you and respect you. You get to be, not that you're being inauthentic, not that you're trying to like manipulate someone by being someone you're not. No, this aspect is in you. We all can access all of them at any given time. It just requires flexibility. So that's what Aaron was saying about flexing. So you flex into these other ways of being that are completely already in you. And it's just a matter of practicing. And I call it trying on the jacket, seeing how it feels. And it might be awkward at first, but at some point, I can now be fully a humanitarian. I can fully be a sage. Some people are so fooled by me, they think I'm a sage. And I'm like, oh, I fooled you. I'm not a sage at all. I'm completely not a sage. I fooled you because I've now practiced and flexed into being that. So we all, it just takes practice. It just takes practice. So I don't know if there's anything that either of you want to add to any of that.
Yeah. It's been really eye-opening for me. I'm a star through and through. Like there's no doubt about it. And I have very, very little sage, like minimal, like,
yeah.
And so it's really good, if you can anticipate the people in your life or the people that you're communicating with, if you can just listen to them for a second and anticipate kind of where they fall by nature, because you can learn these other styles and be flexible into them. But if you can anticipate who you're communicating with, then you know what is natural for them. So if I'm communicating with a more analytical type sage, I'm going to say, hey, do you want to go see this movie? It's at this theater. It starts at this time. This is what it's about. Like, we'll need to leave the house by this time. Like, right. Then they're listening. They're hearing me. Mm-hmm. And, if it's more of a humanitarian, it's like, hey, I would love to connect with you. Like, let's go see this movie. And then like, let's talk for an hour about it afterwards and just sit on the couch and like hug pillows and whatever. Right. So if you know, or you can anticipate who you're communicating with, you just have such a greater potential to, and it's not even just about getting them to do what you want. It's getting them to love the thing also that you want to do. Mm-hmm. In the way that they love it naturally. Yeah.
Like if there's somebody who I'm talking to who has a vision for having a successful business and the thing that's been stopping them is their analyzer, then I'm going to invite them to look at your analyzer has gotten you so far. Being a sage has gotten you so far. It's amazing. And it's just not going to, like, the way that you're being right now and the way that you make decisions is just not going to get you to where you want to go. So how important is it to you for you to get to where you want to go? Because if that's a 10 out of 10 important to you, there's going to need to be a commitment on your part to be willing to try something new, be a different way. I get that it's scary. I get that you don't have evidence that that's going to get you what you need and have your needs met and be safe for you. And it's where it's what you get to embrace if you're committed to getting to where you want to go. So it's really helping them understand and see that there's just another possibility there for them if that's important to them. The other thing I want to say is when it comes to yourself, like me knowing that STAR is my number one, I know that, and my team knows, right? Like, because all my team like knows all of this as well. Like my team knows that sometimes I drop the ball. Sometimes my STAR self shines through and through and I make a mistake. And I know I make a mistake. I used to beat myself up. I used to feel so ashamed. I used to lie. Like another thing that stars do is like, I used to lie or tell white lies or like manipulate the truth and be deceitful to like cover my ass and not look bad. And now I just say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm so quick to own that aspect of myself. I don't feel shame anymore. I'm just like, oh, this is that part of me that continues every single day. I've done so much work. And yet every single day I get to look at this part of me and face it and own it and gently apologize where there's breakdowns, have compassion for myself. Oh, I messed that up. That's okay. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to do better next time. And that's what's going to help you continue to move forward in a way that's graceful and doesn't degrade or demean yourself or other people. It actually creates expansion instead of contraction. So you can keep growing because where you want to go, you don't know what it's going to look like. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. And how do you relate with those things? Let's be compassionate, knowing our potential downfalls, our potential pitfalls. And like, I know what my potential pitfalls are. So if they happen, I'm like, okay, I know this is my pitfall. It's okay. Everything is okay. I'm going to clean it up and have compassion and let's keep moving forward, if that makes sense too.
Beautiful. So as we wrap things up, going back to the first question that we asked each and every one of you, like what is the thing that you want the most? And what it truly comes down to by the end of the day is people have the answer to all of your problems, whether it's weight loss, whether it's, getting an Instacart order, whether it's, like
financial,
buying back more time by having your kid help you to wash dishes or whatever it may be in life. So when you learn how to communicate effectively with different people there's actually a system to it, by being self-aware of who you are and being aware of what other people are and landing communication in a way that will move them rather than block them, then as a byproduct, you can inspire action.
That's right.
And over time, you can get the result that you're looking for. And the way that it manifests in life is that you get what you want out of life.
That's it. Beautifully said.
So good. Yay, Julie!
And that's it.
Thank you so much for your time today. I know we went over by like 17 minutes.
I love how
the stars in us just like shone bright.
We had to have that coffee intermission.
Yes. There's a reason for that.
I love you, ladies. Thank you so much for having me on. This is my favorite topic. And if it makes a difference for anybody, then that's, if it changes one person's life, that would make me so happy. But I think it'll change many more lives than that.
Drop a V. So feedback, drop a V if today's conversation added value for your day today. And for those of you who are listening, when you interact with one person today, think of, okay, who I am and who is that person in front of me and how do I need to communicate with them?
Beautiful.
What
That's
language
amazing.
do you speak?
Yeah.
So good. Thank you all for your feedback. That just like fills me up. That makes my week.
Same. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for jumping on with us and spending extra time with us.
Yes. Anytime.
I'm sure until next time.
Grateful for every minute with you both. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Likewise. And thank you guys for joining us this morning and investing your time with us. And thank you, Julie, for investing your time. So Julie Serot at all social media handles and then julieserot.com/mindset. If you want to connect deeper with Julie and you liked what she dropped here for you today.
Yay.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Have a great day. And
bye, beautiful people.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.